Good day, friends of Buzzy. So today is not as good a day for me. I'm actually in pain. I have a pinched nerve in my neck and thought, what a great opportunity to go through the process of how you figure out what works for pain. So as you know, working for a pain company, I've got access to a lot of things. And over the past 5 days, the things that have worked best for me, some of them I figured out and some have actually surprised me. So I'm going to go over the process of the pain relief and then talk about the products that actually were great and then the ones that did not work so well. So first of all, the thing that I found that worked the best is actually immobilization. So I have been wearing an ACE wrap and I've also been wearing a sling for about the last 2 days. I'm going to take them off now so I can gesticulate. And so I can show you more things, and also so you can get an idea of what my range of motion is. So your mileage may vary. I think, given that popped open, nothing to see here. So one thing that's also been really helpful is ice packs, and we'll get into that. All right, so the first thing is that when I woke up on Friday night, in the middle of the night, anytime I looked a little bit to the left or the right, I literally screamed. And so Keith Cronin, who is our fantastic PT, says that that is often a sign that there is an impinged nerve. So what you may not know about me is that I have had a very rowdy history with my neck. I got hit in the side when I was coming home from a shift and an overnight. And this is my little C-spine, and that is a compression fracture at C5. And then about 4 years ago, I was boogie boarding, and I kind of went over the falls, twisted my neck. I was intubated for a little while. And I don't know if that's why, but the place in the disc right there, you're supposed to have a little disc in between C6 and C7. I don't so much have that anymore. So if one were to look at my C-spine, you could also see that the curvature here, yeah, there, that little guy there, that curvature is supposed to actually go the other direction. This is sort of a 70-year-old neck you got going on here. So I'm going to take you through the process of how I did trial and error, because this is really important way that anybody with chronic pain has to approach it. And I was able to avoid opioids, and we'll talk about that. So woke up, couldn't move, and the first thing I did was, when I tried to move at all or get out of bed or roll over, was to press my shoulder where I hurt. So pressing does a couple things. One thing is it immobilizes whatever you're trying to not aggravate, but also pressing activates the Ruffini corpuscles and the Merkel corpuscles and can be its own form of pain relief. So compression is something that helps. I tried, immediately I went for an anti-inflammatory. So ibuprofen, hugely helpful. I also knew that some of the pain was coming from spasms. So like we always talk about, I went straight for magnesium. So the magnesium I would recommend is up to 3 grams a day. So I took 1,000 right away. I took 1,000 a little later. Side effect of magnesium. Turns out 3,000 milligrams a day, loose stools is something that you can expect to look forward to. So it's sort of the opposite of the constipating effect of opioids. You get the other direction. So I had that on board. It still wasn't helping so much. I think that one of the things that was the most amazing was our VibraCool Ice Packs. So one of my dear friends, Charles, said, when I told him that I had some pain, he said, well, you know, I've got a friend who works for a company and makes devices that help with pain. So the devices to which he alluded to were the VibraCool, which is my company. And what I found was that the place where I was hurting, which is all up and down my trapezius, I couldn't get a good enough pressure with, so I had this little device. This is the Flex, and this worked great for after I got intubated and when I was having spasms, but this wasn't big enough to hit all the areas that I needed. So one of the other things I tried was just taking the device itself and pressing it where I needed it, but trying to lay down against the bed, it absorbed some of the vibration. So it was great when my husband was holding it where I needed it, but not as good as having something really tightly holding it on. So one thing I found was that the slings that they have for various different shoulder injuries, they're really open in the back. So there wasn't a good place where I could use the pressure of that sling. Now, braces for knee pain or braces for osteoarthritis or braces for anything else that are sort of all around the area, those are fantastic to slip the vibration in, because this mechanical stimulation activates other things and makes them Pacini corpuscles and makes them block pain. But I couldn't get this as much as I wanted. What I did find, though, was that the ice packs that we have with VibraCool are amazing, because if I was really screamingly in pain, this side is a lot more intense, and I could just put that straight on where it hurt. If I was going to go to sleep with them and I didn't really want to have the most intense feeling, I used the light side. So I'm going to put that back in right now. The other thing is that, I mean, I ended up having, I went through probably 10 of these. I mean, so these come in 2-packs, but these by themselves, the other nice thing is they do freeze solid, so it made it easy to slip it under the sling and to get it where I needed it. So a couple of nights, Saturday, Sunday, I slept in the sling. And one thing I found about the shoulder sling that you get for shoulder injuries is that it had just one adjustment place, and this hard plastic ended up being right over my clavicle as I was trying to sleep. So first night, I was like, all right, I've got to find a different sling. Fortunately, my good friend David Bieber at Rehabilitation Health, he invented something called the Next Sling, which I can show you. Here we go. So the Next Sling, and the Next Sling was good because it's got 2 different straps and it's got an X over your back. The only problem I found with this was that I was a little bit too small. The position that was the most comfortable was really elevating the shoulder and arm like this, so that all my weight of my hand and arm could be in the sling. And even at maximal tightness, I couldn't get the Next Sling quite short enough. So much more comfortable on the clavicles, good support on the back, but it didn't hold it up high enough for where I needed it to be. So that's why I started adding an ACE wrap on top of it. Now, this is the thing that surprised me the most. So we get a number of different samples of things, and we also have partners who make pain creams. One of the things we were working on before COVID was pain pads, so that you could put your pain cream on and use it instead of just smearing it on and waiting, so that if you wanted to use the pain cream and the VibraCool at the same time, then you could do that. So because the factories that were making all of this PPE are also the ones that would have made our pain pads, we kind of got pushed off to the side. So given that I was in pain and given that I am a scientist, I said to my husband, all right, look, let's try 4 different creams, and let's take these 4 different creams and don't tell me which one they are, and I will keep records of what my results are. So this is my left-handed result pad. I will go into this a little bit later. So I put 1 on every hour. There could be some effect from layering. Your mileage may vary. And what he set up in the bathroom so that I couldn't see it was, first of all, there are your pain pads. We used Carefree panty liners to do it. And then we have 1, 2, 3, and just 3, because the 4th one was the one that won. So I wrote down my pain at the beginning. I wrote down my pain after 15 minutes. And then I wrote down my pain at an hour. And I will tell you that having tried a CBD, which did diddly pup, and another one that was a cream that also didn't help very much, the 2 that were really close to being the most effective together were Neptune Ice and Stop Pain. So Neptune Ice took my pain down from a 7 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10. And then by an hour later, it was at 4 out of 10. But Ermagerd, this guy, the Stop Pain, took the pain down from a 7 out of 10 to 0 out of 10. And then at an hour later, it was at 5, and I was also due for ibuprofen. So what was interesting was that both of these guys have menthol. Stop Pain has 10% menthol. You may have heard of Biofreeze. It's 5% menthol. The Neptune Ice has 1% menthol, but then it's got 4% lidocaine, bunch of other different things. So both of them stung when I put them on. The Stop Pain stung a lot, like I stood in front of a fan. But then I discovered that if you put your ice pack from your VibraCool on top of the pad where the Stop Pain is, you can totally tolerate the minute, 2 minutes of sting before it penetrates in. Now, one thing about ice is that ice decreases the permeability of your skin to having things penetrate it. Guess what increases that? Vibration. So vibration makes things go in faster, the ice make it go slower. I think it canceled out, but when I was the next time since then, since I've been using the Stop Pain, I have been using an ice pack and the vibration on it, and I get minimal stinging and it seems to penetrate fast. One of the things that's nice about the Stop Pain, if I can find it, is it turns out they've got a rolly ball one. And so as I've been sitting at my desk today, because I can't stop, I've been trying to do some rolly ball stuff. And so the nice thing is you do get a little bit of massage on the area as you're applying it. So that was kind of a nice thing. So the gel or the rolly ball on the Stop Pain, I was stunned. I thought it was amazing. One really interesting thing. So I was suggested by Dr. Cronin that I should try muscle relaxants. In the emergency department, I was never big on muscle relaxants because I didn't think that the research was that great. The research isn't that great, but I was willing to try anything, and I certainly was in a pretty solid 8, 9 out of pain. I was not expecting to be able to go to sleep. I was certainly expecting I needed to go to the emergency room, and this is Labor Day weekend. So I put out something to my network saying, hey guys, I've got a pinched nerve. I think I need muscle relaxants. Does anybody happen to have any at home? I'd rather not go to the ED for an x-ray and muscle relaxants. Within 5 minutes, I had offers from 2 different families, and they sent me pictures of what they had in their medicine cabinet. And between the 2 families, there were 5 bottles each, the total of 10 bottles of opioids, partially used, tramadol, OxyContin, hydrocodone. This is why we have an opioid surge and a problem. I know that you want to keep them in your cabinets for when your friends have a pinched nerve and need something to sleep, but the reality is these are the one class of drugs the FDA say is fine to flush down the toilet. So go ahead and flush them. Ain't nobody gonna use 5 bottles of opioids in any good way that's gonna happen. So I did not use any opioids, but I did see a very interesting assortment of medicines, and I did not find any muscle relaxants. So I can't comment personally on how that would work or not work. After day 3, so now we're on Monday night, slept in the sling, slept in the Next Sling, and that was very comfortable because it didn't have the big thing, and it didn't matter that it wasn't small enough to support my arm. And the next day I decided I would go to a chiropractor. Now, the first night when I couldn't turn my head without screaming, I had a Theragun, you know, the whoopity, 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 whoopity thing. And so my husband whoopity, whoopity, whoopity all over my trapezius and down to the deltoid. And that made it so I could actually move. So I think that probably took care of some of the spasm. It ended up making the area swell. And the second time I tried it, it felt like I was damaging tissue, so I didn't try that again. So anyway, figuring this was mechanical, I have not been to a chiropractor but once in my life. I decided I'd go to a chiropractor. Went yesterday, and things had pretty much calmed down. I mean, I was kind of like now where I can, you know, it aches, but I can move. It feels like I probably ought to keep it still, but I can move. Chiropractor did the whoopity thing, got the x-ray that we just saw, was like, I think I'm not going to touch any of that fused bone part, which I thought was admirable. But the adjusting thing and a whole bunch more, sort of like a Theragun, but just pounding stuff. All it did was my shoulder blade is extraordinarily bruised today, is still very sore, and I was hurting worse. So I think that I'm gonna just stop right there. I think this is not an adjustment issue. I think this is I got a nerve stuck, now it's unstuck, and now I'm just dealing with the pain across the board. All right, so that's a lot of information. I think that the important things to learn here are, first of all, that when you have chronic pain, there isn't going to be a simple solution. This has not gone chronic yet, but I know what my neck looks like, and I know that the x-rays and the CTs that I have make it likely I'm going to be having this kind of thing happening in the future. So I am getting a neck traction brace so that if it happens, I can really quickly try to take the pressure off the nerve before it has a chance to swell up. I think that the other important thing to take from this is that the What Works for Pain guideline, you can get it on the Pain Care Lab's website, but this is really a useful path to go through in trial and error. So things like magnesium, things like ibuprofen round the clock for the last 4 days. This is probably about as long as I should do it. Different creams, trying which works for you. The 10% menthol was kind of a revelation. I was really surprised. And the combination of layering menthol and ice and vibration was unquestionably the winner. So that's been amazing. The fact that these ice packs, I can do 2 different intensities and temperatures, and it's really slim and easy to shove in underneath stuff. That was something I hadn't expected. I honestly expected that the vibration unit itself, that I'd be able to put that into the sling, and I was surprised that the sling doesn't cover the area I really needed to address where the pain was. So I was kind of disappointed about that. And I realized again, and I haven't remembered this since my second accident, but chronic pain takes it out of you. Chronic pain makes you ego depleted. It makes you more likely to snack on ice cream, or makes you just in general more depressed. And this is a lot of what's happening to people who are home with opioids in their medicine cabinets and who don't have access to massage, exercise, and their chronic pain is just sort of eroding their willpower a little bit at a time. I know I've only had 5 days of this, and I've just am reinvigorated about why what we're doing matters. So if you're doing exercise equipment at home, we do have a video that Dr. Cronin and I did about exercise overuse injuries with your Precor, with your Peloton, with your exercise treadmill, and how to deal with that. So please check that video out if you're having any kind of an overuse injury from something. But if you are having chronic pain, I just want you to know that we do feel you, and there is a way to feel better. You can at least get down to 2 out of 3, and then we're not even talking about all the different things you can do to distract from the pain that's there for a long time. But I hope that you have found this journey and this whole pathway through pain management helpful. And I'm going to go put my little sling back on, but send me any questions, ask us things. We'll go back to talking about coronavirus next time. But for right now, I hope if you have a pinched nerve in your neck, that some of the things that we talked about can be helpful for you. So both for myself and for all of us, it's going to be fine.